open surgery, right? An open incision, kind of holding tools with your hands, doing the surgery kind of over the patient. Laparoscopic surgery, where you use a few laparoscopes, kind of 3, 4, 5 small incisions in the abdomen or chest area. And then endovascular surgery, which is a huge category of surgery. There's tens of millions of procedures done a year, kind of in this category of endovascular procedures. And you use a catheter inserted into the blood vessels, usually in the leg or in the arm, and then they go, twisting this catheter through the blood vessels to the heart or to the brain or to any other parts of the body. And that whole category of endovascular surgery hasn't had essentially any robotics in it. We are, like I mentioned before, a relatively small company, 150 employees, 100 hospitals that use our robot, and we're the only one that's commercializing an endovascular robot. And so that is the frontier of medical robotics, where we're kind of carrying the flag and trying to make our positive impact on the world. And that's kind of, so that's if we have to hone in on there's multiple frontiers, multiple barriers, but I'd say that's the one we're the most focused on.
Why do you think this has been a place that hasn't, your particular focus has not been a place that we've seen maybe beyond Stereotaxis, like much innovation in over the years?
So if you think about it, try to kind of picture in your mind an open surgery where you're kind of, a physician holding tools in their hands and kind of doing, an incision, cutting and kind of doing cautery and trying to stitch two tissues together. Or think about laparoscopic surgery where you have kind of these rigid functional sticks, to say it in the least elegant way possible, a functional stick with a scissor at the end or a grasper on the end. Those, you can kind of imagine those being done robotically, and it kind of seems like an industrial robot that you would imagine on the car floor, obviously much smaller and has to have much finer movements, but kind of you can imagine those robots. Now think about little catheters, really kind of, sometimes really the width of your hair, right? And sometimes they're a millimeter in diameter, 2 millimeters in diameter, but, tiny, tiny little things. And they have to move through twisting and turning blood vessels, tortuous vasculature. What you typically think about a robot doesn't make sense anymore, right? You can't think about straight lines. You can't think about hard metal. You have to think about soft plastic that is able to do twists and bends and turns and can still be moved with precision and stability and a great safety profile. And that kind of means you have to start thinking about completely different robots. And so a few of the robotic mechanisms that have been tried for endovascular surgery, and none of them ultimately really ended up providing enough clinical value to kind of get exit velocity. And what they really tried to do is just mimic the human hand.